Shalom Israel, as usual. Oh, God.
We just saw that.
Yeah, exactly. Won't be cutting no one. Well, I got my virtual sword, but
yeah, memory.
I need my physical. No, my phones.
Oh yeah, virtual.
Yeah. Shalom Israel, as usual, we'll come out week in, week out, as often as the Most High makes it possible for us to push this word, so that He can use it to wake up the elect of His people. But before we start, as you know, we're going to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Wahab, Rakah, Quadash. Doubleness to the elders, apostles in Israel who really teach well. That's right. To the Akayam on the highways and byways, those pushing this word in truth and sincerity, to the brothers and sisters in the truth, listening, learning, studying, rehearsing righteous acts.
Right, yeah, so first off, as I usually do, again to some paleo. Right? So bear with me.
Yeah, he does the paleo, we do the English.
Nathan Kal Halaliam Wakabadiam Waha Sapa'a Raf La Abanawa Yahawa Alashadia Waha Malak Ha Mashayak Fana Nawa Yahawashai Wa Raka Kadash. So what that says in the English is, give all praises and honors and the glory to Yahweh Al-Shadia, which is all powerful, all power, all great, and the King, the Messiah, our Redeemer, Yahushai, and the Holy Spirit. So the question I want to pose today, and what I am attempting to answer today, was led through the Spirit by my beloved brother, Abadiah, who came out, I think it was on Monday. Was it Monday he came out? To Brixton. Right, so he came out of Brixton, and and he texted me of the goings on, and he made a comment. He said they don't understand grace. Right? Can you remember that text? Yeah, we said the sister said they don't understand grace. Right. So that resonated with me. So I'm posing the question now: do you understand grace? Do you understand what it is? Do you understand how can you define it? Do you know how to incorporate it, or do you know how it's applied? How the Most High applies it, do you know? So, I'm playing the devil's advocate today, so I'm asking the questions that usually are asked of us. So these are the questions they usually ask us, or they usually use as a defense mechanism. This is what they say. We say by grace, brother, not works. And I attach works with the law. Another thing they say is, the law is done away with, brother. Right?
We're under the law.
Yeah, there you go. Another one is, Christ nailed it on the cross, brother.
That's right.
Right? Because that's what they say, right? The other one is, that's the Old Testament. We in the New. Right? So that's hinting to the New Covenant as well when they say that. Right? And then the last one I'm going to pose is, Jesus died so that all can be saved. See? That's the spirit. That's that exactly. Right, so first off, I like your definition of grace. You there ready? Oh, actually, yeah. Wait, sorry, I forgot something. Sorry. Yeah, I forgot something. Salaki Israel. Yeah, bring it on.
This is the word grace, the Strong's H2580.
That's right.
And that word there is I'll play on their computer.
Yeah, play. Is it Hebrew or Greek?
It's in the Hebrew.
That should be Katsad or...
It says Kahan.
Or Canaan. Yeah, Canaan. That's what John...
Page 2580. Chain.
Well, your how it's gracious.
So that word, grace in the Strong's, it means favor.
Yes.
Charm.
Yes.
Elegance.
Yes.
Or acceptance.
Yeah, listen. We dealing with grace.
to find favor. That's the main point.
Right.
Of that one there.
Yeah.
And my brother's going to end it.
Yeah, bring out,
That's
bring
the
out.
etymology of the word grace.
Yeah.
It says God's
It's God's unmerited.
God's unmerited favor.
Right, so we have to stress, when it says unmerited, what that actually means is that you're not actually deserving of it. It's not due to any of your work or anything that you've done. It's a favor that's been placed on you.
Love or help. It says,
Yes, good.
it says a state of sanctification by the Most High.
Right, so sanctified, to be sanctified, another word for that is kadash, which means to be separate or set apart. Spiritually,
A state of sanctification by the Most High, the state of one who is under such divine influence.
that's right, and that's nice because I made sure to cover myself and say spiritually before that came. So yeah, so bring out your precept and then I'm going to bring out my definition.
It says Ephesians chapter 2.
Sorry, not mine. It's wonderful stuff. Yeah, bring out.
Ephesians 2 and 8 says, for by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of the Most High.
Alright, nice. So now I'm going to bring out, because I like to use the Zondervan Compact Dictionary. Why? Because it's got scholarship and it's also got archaeological evidence and scriptural evidence. So I like to support the Bible with evidence. The Bible doesn't need anything, nothing equals it. Nothing is its made, but I just like to support. It's called supportive evidence, right? So you're building a case because out of two or more witnesses, everything is established. Yeah, so this is the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, and we're on page 205, and it's underlined grace. So I'm going to read the highlighted bits that I've highlighted. Grace, a term employed by the biblical writers, which is Yasha Allah, the ancients, the prophets, right? With considerable variety of meaning, which was illustrated by the brother's beautiful breakdown of the word. So here we're getting into some of the meaning. Properly speaking, that which affords joy, pleasure, delight, charm, sweetness, loveliness, good will, loving kindness, which is one of the definitions I tend to like adhere to. Mercy, which is another one of the definitions that I tend to adhere to, etc. The kindness, listen to this, the kindness of a master. So we're servants to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. So there's a servant master relationship. So when it says master, I already in my mind I'm thinking Yahweh. Bahasham, Yahushai. Because Yahushai is my Lord, and Yahweh would be my master.
That goes back to Psalms 110 and 1. It says, King David said,
My Lord said to my Lord, yeah. The kindness of a master towards a slave, which would be the relationship as I just explained, right, that we're in. Thus, by analogy, it has come to signify the kindness of God, Yahweh power, to man. Every Hebrew Israelite, man, woman, and child. Right? Let me continue. The New Testament writers, at the end of their various epistles, frequently invoke God's gracious favor upon their readers. So if you read like James, Peter, a lot of the epistles, they always exchange grace and mercy. Yes. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. In addition, the word grace is frequently used to express the concept of kindness bestowed upon someone undeserving thereof, which basically that's the fact. Hence, undeserved favor, that's a fact as well. Especially that kind of degree of favor bestowed upon sinners through Jesus Christ, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. Well, bring it out.
This is Romans 5 and 8. Says, but the Most High commendeth his love towards us in that while we were yet sinners, the Mashiach died for us. That's right. That's the grace.
That's right. The relationship between, listen to this now, the relationship between law, Haftarah, and grace, which would be a Canaan, is one of the major themes of the Pauline writings. Right, and they go into some examples: Romans 5 and 1, Romans 5, 15 to 17, Romans 8 and 1 to 2, Ephesians 28, and so on and so forth. Grace is likewise without equivocation, meaning that you do not necessarily have to validate it or verify it, right? Or be deserving of it. Right? Identified as the medium of instrument through which God, Yahweh Power, has effected the salvation of all believers.
Is that Yeshua?
Yeah?
Yeshua.
Which is
El Shaddai.
Yasha'Allah, Akkad. Right, and then underneath I have a special gift of grace is imparted to the humble. Right? So this is loosely identifying who Yahweh's object of grace is, the humble. So another word for humble is lowly, and I'll actually bring that out. Meek, lowly, but let us bring it out. Because I like to define words. Don't just throw words loosely, I like to define them as well.
Humble, it says submissive.
Those who submit to the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, go on.
It's respectful, lowly in manner, modest.
So lowly is the opposite of proud. So a proud person does that. A lowly person does that. They submit. Go on.
It says modest, not self-assertive.
Right.
Obedient.
Obedience is better than sacrifice. Go on. Is that it?
Lowly, it says marked by meekness.
Mark. So that's a Haftarah or Haftarah, which is the mark of exemption. Marked by meekness.
It says or modesty, not arrogant or prideful. Essentially humble and self-effacing.
Right, so self-effacing is somebody that always puts himself down rather than somebody that always lifts themselves up. Yeah? So that's the definition of grace. Oh, there's something else there. Let me read it out. Grace can also refer to the capacity for the reception of divine life. Right? So that's in other words, that's a gift that the Most High has already placed for us, and that's why we have to make our election sure, right? Yeah, bring it down.
It's the book of James, chapter 4, verse 6, it says, but he giveth more grace, wherefore he saith, the Most High resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble.
Right.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 3, starting at verse 24.
Oh, one second. The reason why he's going to give grace to the humble, because those are the ones who are willing to submit to his will.
Proverbs chapter 3, verse 24. Surely he scorneth the scorners, but he giveth grace. But he giveth grace unto the lowly. Wise shall inherit the glory, but shame shall be the promotion of fools.
Right.
Just the fact that.
And shame also is identified as naked. So being naked doesn't necessarily mean that you're not clothed, but it means that you do not have on the armor of the Most High. So you haven't covered yourself, right? Was there something you wanted to
So just to touch on what the brother was saying about how grace was to be given unto the lowly, that's obviously evidence to back up what the brother was saying. Obviously, those that exalt themselves are obviously very prideful. They're not going to receive the glory of the Most High, how about Shem Yahshai. Obviously, if you show humbleness and meekness, then obviously you'll inherit the glory. And obviously, if you do the work to top of it, then obviously, you'll be safe.
That's faith and work. And also that it mentions the mark, so we we all know about the mark of the beast. We also know about the mark of exemption. So it's further defined there as a mark of meekness, right, or a mark of humbleness. Right, so let's get into the lesson now. So could somebody bring out, let me get this right. First Peter. No, 2 to 5. Then 10. All right. And then I'll put it. Yeah, I want you to get
hecho la obra que demandaste. Glorifícate Cristo, glorifícate en esta imagen, que tu presencia no sea falta de ti, Padre. Que toda fortaleza, toda sacada sea libre en el nombre de Jesús. Gracias, poderoso Dios, a ti sea la gloria, sea la honra, por los siglos de los siglos. Poderoso Dios, en el nombre de Jesús. Amén, amén y amén. Gloria a Dios.
Yeah.
First Peter chapter 2. Verse 5.
First Peter 5, 2 to 5.
First Peter 5.
5. Chapter 5.
Ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house.
So we are the lively stones as well, because the lively stones also refers to the word, which is the different stones that signifies the tribes of Israel.
A holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to the power by Yahweh Bashim Yashai. Verse 6. Wherefore also, I'll be 5 and then
5, 2 to 5.
No, chapter 5.
Chapter 5. Go to chapter 5.
Oh,
Chapter 5. 2 to 5. And then jump to 10. We are the lively stones.
Also, I just think it also represents the house of David.
That's right. Yeah, that's the
Verse 2.
Verse 2. First Peter chapter 5, verse 2.
Yeah.
Feed the flock of Yahweh, which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly.
Right, so when it says not by constraint, it means not begrudgingly or not with bad mind, but willingly. You're supposed to want to do it.
Can I just say, just where it says feed the flock, yeah, this is what we're doing now. We've come out to feed the flock, and we are doing it willingly, because we're not, no brother standing here is forced to come out.
Feeding them with his bread.
Not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind.
Hear that? Not for filthy lucre. So we're not doing it like the Christian church would have a collection plate, like, you know, to get rich on. Like when you look at some of them pastors, you see their wealth. They're in the millions with a stately home, a Rolls Royce.
Jet.
You know?
And some's not even just doing it for money, some's doing it for status, for prominence. Yeah. Just do it because, you just want to do it because that's what we come out to do. We love pushing the word, trying to edify your people so that they can work towards getting the kingdom, and we can. And another reason we should do it willingly, because the sooner our people wake up, the sooner we get out of here, man.
Exactly.
You know, and the most I can start forward these prophecies a bit more.
Right, so the reason why I gave him that precept, all of what you said is correct. The reason why I gave him that precept is because it's a demonstration of grace, because that's what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with grace. So we were given this knowledge through the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, not of our own like, oh, I'm this great intellectual guy. No, that beautiful gift you have of memorizing precepts, and the Most High gave you that. That beautiful gift you have of breaking down the scriptures, the Most High. So I'm giving that definition, or I'm trying to give definitions of grace using the precepts. So go ahead, Go ahead. Yeah, did you finish 5? Did you go down to 5?
Okay, make it way to 5.
Yeah.
This is
I'm dealing with grace.
1 Peter chapter 5, verse 3. Neither as being lords over powers, heritage, but being ensamples to the flock. Verse 4.
Being examples to the flock.
Examples to the
Right,
flock.
so when it says examples to the flock, Yasha Allah is the flock. We're the sheep, really. We're not the goat, we're the sheep. So the examples would be the men that the Most High, through grace, gave the election of the Spirit to be able to understand the scriptures, to the best of their ability, keep the laws, and to the best of their ability, illustrate to Yasha Allah, the ones that are not in the truth, what it is, what they're supposed to be doing. Because we can't just say it, we have to do it. Yeah?
Of the word and the
That's right. Go ahead,
Verse 4. And when the chief shepherd shall appear,
which is Yahushua,
ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away.
which is in the Apocrypha. There's got a beautiful rendition of that. You know, where he gives us, yeah. Just the one where he gives us the
You want it?
Yeah, bring it out. Yeah.
It's the second Ezra chapter 2.
Yeah, somewhere.
Verse
Yeah, there you
44.
go. 43 and 40.
This is second Ezra.
No, 43.
Second Ezra 2 and 43.
Yeah.
It says, and in the midst of them there was a young man of a high stature,
That's Yahushua.
taller than all the rest,
He is taller than us. He is bigger than us. He is better than us.
and upon every one of their heads he set crowns,
That's right.
and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Now are they crowned and receive palms.
Which is a mark of victory, by the way.
Then said I unto the angel, What young person is it that crowneth them and giveth them palm in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, It is the Son of the Most High, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began
that's a key point as well. So these people that have held the truth until the end, they've also confessed the name. So the name is, so even if you're in the truth allegedly, and you're saying Yahuwah and Yahia and all of that, no, you have to confess the name. Go on.
It says, Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai.
That's right. Right? So yeah, so let's get back into did you reach 5?
It's going to be 5 now.
Yeah.
Verse 5. Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder.
So I have to touch on that as well, because when it says ye younger, a lot of bugged out jakes, they tend to look at face value. So they will look at me and see me as the eldest here, but physically I look older than everybody here. No, younger is not in age, but in wisdom. So most of my teachers are actually younger in age to me, but they are elder in knowledge and the spirit than me. So you have to look at it in that context as well. Go ahead, Go ahead.
1 Peter chapter 5, verse 5. Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elders. Yea, all of you, be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility.
That's right.
For power resisteth the proud, and giveth
See
grace
that?
to the humble.
You see it there? So I'm reiterating the point. So the grace, which we define. Oh, you remember that?
That's cool.
All right, man. Listen, if you have time, you can come and listen to it.
We gotta go right now.
I have that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So That's a brother from a country, so you know, you put a smile on my face. So could you just say that last verse again to get me back my train of thought?
Book of 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 5.
Yeah.
Likewise, ye younger, submit yourself unto the elder.
Right, so I've defined that. So younger doesn't necessarily mean young in age, right? So it just means that somebody that's younger in the truth, submit yourself to somebody that's older in the truth, regardless of age or status, or money or whatever else. Go on now.
Yea, all of you be subject one to another.
So we have to be subject one to another, meaning that iron sharpeneth iron. We have to keep each other on the right path, and we have to keep each other sharp. Go on.
And be clothed with humility.
Right, so that's referring to what I said earlier. So the nakedness, remember I said nakedness doesn't necessarily mean you do not have on clothes. It means that you're shameful or you're clothed with unrighteousness. So say that again, what you just said.
And be clothed with humility.
So that clothed with humility, that's the white garment. That's when you're in the truth. That's when you're being humble. That's when you're keeping the Lord's statutes and commandments. That's when you've killed your ego. You mortified your members. Go on now.
That's a big thing in Israel as well, you know, that ego too.
And that's a form of grace as well. Go on now.
For power resisteth the proud and giveth grace to the humble.
Power resisteth the proud. So power in that case would be Al-Ahaya, which is Yahweh power. He don't deal with pride. He don't deal with proud people. That's why he can't stand Edom. That's another subject.
That's
go on.
how,
Go on.
6?
No, 10. Jump to 10.
Go straight to 10 now. Yeah. It's 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 10. But the power of all grace, who have
Say that
called
again,
unto us,
the power of who?
of all grace.
Right. So when you're talking about grace, you're talking about Yahweh. And you can also add Bahashim Yahweh Shai, because Yahweh Shai is going to actively execute that grace. So he's going to be like the mediator. That's a legal term again. Right, and he's going to, exactly. I think I've got that one as well. Yeah, go on now.
The power of all grace, who have called us unto his eternal glory.
He called us. That's the point. The Most High elected you up, and that's a form of grace as well, because of all the millions of Yasha Allah, I'd say James, how many in the truth?
well, if you look at us when we come out here, like, we tend to pull out to
How
a
many
lot of
stop?
people and,
Yeah. My guy stopped because I have the Trinity thing. Like, if I didn't have that one, he would have kept it. Yeah, go on now.
But the power of all grace, who have called us unto his eternal glory by Mashiach Yahweh Shai.
That's right.
After that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect,
That's right.
establish, strengthen, settle you.
Right. So perfect, we know, is trying to keep the laws with all your power, all your effort. And what was the other bit?
Establish, strengthen, settle you.
Right. So was that it? Yeah.
That's
all right.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 45,
49.
49. And it reads, For he that is mighty hath done to me great things, and holy is his name.
Right. So who is mighty? I already said it in the opening. Right. Al-Shadia, Yahweh Al-Shadia. He's the mighty. He's the all-powerful, all-everything. Omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, omni-everything. Yeah, go on now.
It says, and his mercy is on them that fear him from generation to generation.
The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. So this scripture is linking fear of Yahweh with doing his commandments and obeying him.
Jumps to 5, right?
We're in 49, go all the way to 50.
And his mercy is on them that fear him from generation to generation.
Then jump to 54. Yeah.
Verse 54. He hath holpen his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy.
Right, so he has holpen is Old English for he has helped. So he has helped his...
He has holpen his servant Israel.
So he's clarifying and defining Israel, which is Bani Yasha Allah, as his servant. right?
In remembrance of his mercy.
That's right. So mercy, as we define grace, mercy is one of the definitions of grace. So you could interchange mercy with grace. Yeah, bogged down. Our people are bogged down for lack of
Carry on to the all the way down again. That was 54.
Oh no, then jump to 77, and then 77 to 78.
Book of Luke chapter 1 verse 77. To give knowledge of salvation unto his people.
Unto his people, that's possessive, God.
By the remission of their sins.
Right. So his people are the only ones that actually can sin, because his people are the only ones that were given the law, statutes, and commandments. It's common sense. Go on.
Through the tender mercy of our power.
Or you could interchange that through the tender grace as well. Go on.
Whereby the day spring from on high have visited us.
Right, so the day spring, that's a catchword as well, because the day spring is the dawn, but the day exactly, the day spring is also the morning star, which basically is Yahweh Shai, and also proves that Quetzalcoatl is Yahweh Shai as well. So yeah, 77 to 78. Right, I think oh yeah, go ahead.
This is Hebrews.
This
is Hebrews chapter 10 and 29.
I'm coming for work.
Yeah,
No problem.
It's alright.
Hebrews 10 and 29 says, of how much sorer punishment suppose ye shall he be thought worthy who has trodden underfoot the Son of the Most High, those that didn't want to have faith in Yahweh Shai, and has counted the blood of the covenant wherewith he was sanctified an unholy thing, and has done despite unto the Spirit of grace. So, you know, when you reject Yahweh Shai, you're really rejecting grace.
What you're doing is like you fell, somebody's reaching their hand to pull you up, and you box with it, you lick with it. That's what you do.
What's a precept say? You know, roughly paraphrasing, I have stretched forth my hand.
Exactly.
When no man regarded. Oh, that's Proverbs 1, I think.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
It's the book of Revelations, chapter 2 and verse 9. It says, I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich.
So that part of that statement, because this goes further on, but I'm not dealing with the further on bit, I'm dealing with that. That part is in reference to a church of Hebrew Israelites, right? So it actually is in reference to Hebrew Israelites, right? So then read the other bit, please.
This is James.
Yeah.
This is James 2 and 5. It says, hearken, my beloved.
So who's his beloved? I think somebody brought that out today. Yeah, bring that out. You might as well bring it out because yeah.
3 and 36.
Yes, yeah. Because it's all about precepts and scholarship. So, like I said earlier, out of the mouth of 2 or more witnesses, right? So 2 prophets are 2 witnesses, right? The witnesses for Yahweh. Go ahead, Al.
Baruch 3:36. He has found out all the way of knowledge and has given it unto Jacob his servant.
So Jacob also can be, could be decoded as Israel as well. So anytime you hear Jacob, go ahead.
Says, and has given it unto his servant Slacker. He has found out all the ways of knowledge and has given it unto Jacob his servant and to Israel his beloved.
Right. So it also, when you see Jacob and Israel, it could mean, it's a code. So one, it could mean Israel in a fallen state, and Israel when they're united and serving the Most High Kalina. It could also mean the northern tribes and the southern tribes as well. And it could also just be like, you're trying to say the same person, but you don't want to use the same word over and over, so you interchange. So that's just a side part.
It can also mean the elect, because not all Israel.
It's well said. Absolutely right. So yeah,
So this is James 2 and 5. It says, hearken, my beloved brethren, have not the Most High chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith.
Right, so this is defining what I brought out earlier, that rich. So the richness is faith. But the reason why I brought it in, because I'm dealing with grace, I posed a question. So in scholarship, that would be a thesis question. You're asked a question, and then you're asked to define and explain it. So this is what I'm trying to do. So in the James 2 and 5, it's actually explained. Read it again.
James 2 and 5, hearken, my beloved brethren.
So we proved that the beloved is Yasha Allah, or Israel, or Jacob. and his offspring.
Have not the Most High chosen the poor of this world?
Right, so it's linking Israel with the poor, so that could be found in Deuteronomy as well. But yeah, go on. Yeah, go on.
Have not the Most High chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith,
Right.
the heirs of the kingdom which he hath promised to them that love him?
Right. So we know that the only people that can love Yahweh, as listed out in First John. I think it's in John as well. First John, where it talks about love and the command. Yeah, if you love me, keep my commandment. Right. So to love Yahweh is to keep the commandment. To keep the commandment, i.e., to keep the covenant, you have to be one of the covenant people. So it's speaking a language likened unto Shakespeare, where it weaves and bobs and weaves, but if you interconnect it, it makes perfect sense. You have a piece of Huh? Alright. Is that you, Robert? Yeah, 12, 11.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 1, verse 8. My son, hear the instruction of thy father.
So this is very important because it's important. Me and my aunt Daniela, we always kind of say this. Sometimes we say it at the same time. The scriptures have double and triple meanings, right? So when it says, say it again.
My son, hear the instruction of thy father.
So the son, it could be, you have sons, isn't it? You have a son? You have a son? Yes. Right. So it could be a father speaking to a son, right? But also our father, Abanawa, and we are defined, one of the definitions that he has for us is his sons or his children, right? Yeah, bring it.
Exodus 4:22, and thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith Yahweh, Israel is my son,
right?
My firstborn.
Beautiful. See it there? Right, go on.
My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother.
There's a point there too, because when it says the law of thy mother, as a nation, we're called my mother. So when it says Ami or Amaya, it actually means my mother. And our mother is Israel. And Israel, or the land of Israel. And Israel was a man before it was a land. So that's also code for Israel as well. Go on.
Verse 9.
It's code for, it's code for wisdom, it's code for your physical mother, because one of your first teachers is your physical mother. It's code for that too. But it's also code for Israel.
Verse,
you got a piece of
Luke chapter 4, and we give it understand verse 6. You were sold to the nations not for your destruction, but because ye moved the Most High to wrath, ye were delivered unto the enemies. Now, verse 8, ye have forgotten the everlasting that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you.
There you go.
But when she saw the wrath of the Most High come upon you, she said, hearken, O ye that dwell about Zion, the Most High brought upon me great mourning.
That's right. That's right.
Proverbs chapter 1 verse 9. For there shall be an ornament of grace unto thy head, and chains about thy neck.
Right, so we actually mentioned the ornament in what was it, the precept that you brought out dealing with Yahweh Shai, when you put the Second Ezra 2, yeah. So that's just a mark of it's a mark of royalty, but it's also a mark of victory.
That you've been showing grace.
Well, I was getting to that, but yeah, as Brother rightly said, it's a mark of grace, or hathawara. Yes. Right, did you jump to 3:12? Then 8.
And the thing is, this grace is exclusive. It's a gift which the people that don't deserve is being given. And it's not for everyone either, so it's an exclusive gift, man.
So it's
a
like
free gift.
It's likened to a gift as well, because if you buy somebody a birthday gift, right? So I might buy my son a birthday gift. He may not even know me, but the Spirit tell me, yeah, buy him the gift, right? And it is what it is. It's for him. It's not for anybody else.
I've already in the Bible it says it's a gift from the Most High.
And I just was going to add, as you said, it's a gift. Just like in Ephesians 2, what the brother just quoted, and it does say in the next verse, not of works, lest any man should boast. And that's the problem with Shalom.
Okay. Oh, you got it? Yeah, but wait. Because it comes out through the Spirit. So it was meant to come out. Yeah, go on.
It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 3.
Shalom.
Proverbs chapter 3, verse 3 says, let not thy mercy and truth forsake thee, bind them about thy neck.
Right.
Write them upon the table of thy heart.
That's right. And we all know that the heart refers to the mind as well.
The book of Proverbs chapter 3 verse 12. For whom the Lord Yahweh loveth, he correcteth, even as a father, the son in whom he delighteth.
So that's actually a precept for what I said earlier when I said that Father also means the Most High as well.
Proverbs chapter 3 verse 34. Surely he scorneth the scorners, but he giveth grace unto the lowly.
Right, and it's funny because this precept, I should memorize this because in my head, I've gotten to the point now where if somebody's scoffing and scorning, after the second or third admonition, I'm just cutting them off. I ain't got time to waste because the time is short and I want to bring the elect in. What they try to do is eat up your time and suppress the word. Go on.
Verse 35. The wise shall inherit the glory.
But it would say for, but bring out.
The wise shall inherit the glory.
So we know who the wise is, right? Because the fear of the Lord brings the wisdom, and the fear of the Lord forces a person to submit to the will and do the law, statutes, and commandments. So they are the wise.
It goes back to the virgins, isn't it?
That's right.
But shame shall be the promotion of fools.
And that shame, the word shame is linked to nakedness. That means that you're robed in strange attire, or you haven't covered yourself with the armor or the clothing or the garments of the Most High. You don't have on that white garment. Bring out.
It's the book of Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 2. It says, for all those things hath my hand made, and all those things have been, saith Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, but to this man will I look, even to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit, and trembleth at my word. So he's only dealing with the poor. He's only dealing with the poor, which is the lowly, the humble, the ones with a contrite spirit. When you look at that word contrite, it means feeling or expressing pain or sorrow for sins or offences, man.
Yeah.
So the brothers that are feeling sorry for what they've done, man. A lot of our brothers and sisters ain't regretful.
That's that contract spirit.
Yeah, that's that contract.
That's where it says godly sorrow that needed to repentance. Godly sorrow. Yeah. That's right.
That's what we're doing. We're expressing our sorrowfulness, man, by trying to now come back to the will of Yahweh Hashem.
Deep regret, and like the brother say, and through grace, we're able to do that. Well, through the power and spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai.
That's how he manifests his power, through his grace.
That's right.
Okay, this is the book of Amos, chapter 1.
Chapter 3.
Chapter lucky. This is Amos, chapter 3. Yeah, Amos, chapter 3, verse 1.
Yeah, bring it out now. Bring your precept now.
This is Psalms 98 and verse 2. It says, Yahweh has made known his salvation, his righteousness as he openly showed in the sight of the heathen, He has remembered his mercy and his truth towards the house of Israel.
That's right.
And all the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our power.
That's right. And they're going to see it as well. They saw it
And you know,
before,
it's,
and they're going to see it again.
It's written in the present tense. It's letting you know it's something that's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yes, it's the book of Amos, chapter 3 and verse 1. And it reads, "Hear this word that Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying," verse 2, "You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities."
Right, so this is also establishing that father-son or father-child relationship, right? It's also further proving that Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, only knows us, only loves us, only recognizes us, right? So go, could you jump to Proverbs 16 and 4?
Yeah. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 16 and verse 4. And it reads, "Yahweh has made all things for himself."
Right, so Yahweh made everything. So you know when they say, oh yeah, well, we all come from Adam, or God made everyone, or da-da-da-da-da. All right, go on, finish it up.
Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 4 from the top.
Yep.
Yahweh has made all things for himself.
That's right.
Yea, even the wicked for the day of evil.
Right. So the reason why I'm bringing these up, bring up Job 21 and 30, and then I'll make my point.
This is the book of Job, chapter 21 and verse 30.
Right.
And it reads, "That the wicked is reserved to the day of destruction.
Right.
No, go on, finish it. They shall be brought forth to the day of wrath."
Which means the same thing, the day of destruction and the day of wrath.
That's what I was saying, well, that's why they're able to get away with what they get away with.
Yeah, because they're
Heavenly Father's
reserved.
letting Heavenly Father's letting them out of their wickedness so that he can show his glory in it.
And also, it's grace why they're getting away with
Well, that's
so
the
much.
point I'm trying to make. You jump in the gun, that's the point I'm trying to make. Because that's why.
Grace for them, though. Grace for them.
Right, so the reason why I brought those three precepts out, so the first, bring the first one again, because you detracted from the point I was trying to make.
Amos chapter 3 and verse 1. "Hear this word that Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family
of Israel,
which I brought up from the land of Egypt,
that
saying,"
proves that it's Israel, God.
"You," verse 2, "you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities."
Right, so what's happening with Israel, which is also a form of grace, believe it or not, is that we get punished as soon or sooner than later, we get judged, right, as a nation and as individuals. But that's a grace, because when you read the other precepts I brought out, which was Job 21 and 30 and Proverbs 16 and 4, the wicked, they ain't getting judged like that. So their wickedness is storing up, storing up, storing up, storing up, storing up. That's actually not a grace or a mercy, that's actually damnation for them. There's no hope for them, brother.
This is Romans 9 and 22.
No, bring it out, bring it out.
You got it?
Bring it out, brother. If you bring it out, bring it out.
It says, what if the Most High, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endure with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction? So, like you said, this is why they're getting away with so much. Most High's long suffering is
Just add this before you continue. And
Is he with us? One of the Oh, us.
I just wanted to say, just to what the brother said, and this is what happened in Egypt with Pharaoh. The Most High let Pharaoh do all this, so Pharaoh rose up like he thought he was a god. So that was all so the Most High can show his power. Mark's ready to read on.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, read on.
Read it again.
Romans 9, verse 22 says, what if the Most High, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endure with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, and that he might make known the riches of his glory and the vessels of mercy which he has afforded prepared unto glory.
Right, so it mentions long suffering, vessels of destruction, which links up to the wicked, and then it mentions vessels of mercy. What do you say about the vessels?
It says,
which is
that he might make known the riches of his glory.
Which the richness I already defined now as the faith, as well as other things as well.
On the vessels of mercy, which he has afore prepared unto glory.
That's right. So the ones that hold fast until the end and do all the other things that we're going to list out in this grace teaching, hopefully by Yahweh Ratazah, we're going to get the prize. So could you bring out Romans 11, 5?
Romans 11 verse 5
to 7
says, even so then at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of grace.
Right, so what they're showing you here is that the remnant according to election of grace are the people that the Most High kept for himself.
Yeah, aforetime prepared.
Aforetime prepared meaning it's not of their will, it's not of their doing, it's the Most High. So that's grace as well.
You hear me?
They were
that's a
predestined
demonstration.
to receive that
That's
grace.
a demonstration of grace as well.
Says verse 6, and if by grace, then it is no more of works.
That's the point. Go on.
And it's funny, Paul keeps saying the same thing over and over and over.
Because that is the point. We need to get that point.
Says, otherwise grace is no more grace, but if it be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise work is no more work. And man will start to boast.
That's where I was going to say, Lucky.
Right.
That's just what I was going to say before. Like, you know, man would boast. When I kept the feast day, I did this.
I think that's it.
But that even links to this actual scripture. So, yeah, go on.
No, I was speaking. So basically, this is linking up to the analogy I made earlier when I said if my son have a birthday and I buy him a gift, it's not out of. We don't. By the way, let me just add, we don't do birthdays. I just use it as an analogy. We don't believe in birthdays. We don't support it. We don't do it. So let me just clarify that. But I just used it as an analogy. So if I bought him a gift, it's not for anything. He didn't work for that. He didn't do anything to deserve that. It's because I felt to do it. That's how the Most High operates. Yeah?
Verse 7.
Yeah, come to 7.
Verse 7.
Yeah, bring it out.
It's the book of John, chapter 15, verse 16. It says, ye have not chosen me,
That's right.
but I have chosen you and ordained you that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain. That whosoever ye shall ask, that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you.
That's right. And you have to think about it as well, like, it's definitely a gift because really and truly what we are deserving of is death. You know what I'm saying? Right. So the fact that he sent his son so that we can receive life, that's a gift, man. That's why
grace.
When I read in Hebrews, like you trodden the son underfoot, you're doing this back to the spirit of grace. Yeah, verse 7, Hebrews 11 and 7. What then? Israel had not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it, and the rest are blinded.
That's grace again.
Yeah,
and that's actually, it's a prophecy, but it's actually explaining, because people come up and ask these questions. It's explaining it. The election obtained it because the Most High gave us that spirit. It's not of our doing, it's not of us, it's the Most High. And we have to acknowledge that it's grace and acknowledge Him for choosing us. Because there's an analogy that you always bring up when you say that you might be the only one in your family that's in the truth. But that's actually a grace because you're the only one in your family in the truth.
And it says the election of obtaining. So even out of that cluster, there's a smaller cluster that have really obtained that grace, because that our people that grace isn't for all of Israel.
No.
You know?
No.
That's right.
So you did 7, then did you go to 9?
9 and 11.
Yeah.
Hebrews, Romans 9 and 11 says, for the children be not yet born, neither having done any good or evil.
So this is actually defining the point. So I'm hammering in the point, right? You haven't done anything. You're not deserving of it. Read it again.
Romans 9 and 11, for the children be not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of the Most High according to election
Election means pick or choice.
might,
Or even grace, God.
might stand, not of works,
Not
but
of
of him that
works.
calleth.
So that's grace. So that's a further demonstration of grace.
I don't know how much you have to do. Alright. I'm not to make mom. Phone me.
Malachi 3 and 6.
Phone me, I'm really cut. Man, interested now.
Hebrews 7 and 21.
Man, don't do despite to the spirit of grace, man. And be grateful that your eyes is open. Remember, the scripture says, "Blessed are your eyes for they see." That's grace, man. The Most High wiping them scales off your eyes so that you can receive this truth. That's why you have to hold on to it with everything that you got, man.
This is Sirach 34 and start 11.
Bring it out.
I'm going to start at 12. It says, I was oft times in danger of death, yet I was delivered because of these things. The spirit of those that fear Yahweh by Shem Yahushai shall live,
That's right.
for their hope is in him that saveth them.
That's right. Malachi
Malachi 3 and 1.
3 and 6.
The book of Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6. For I am Yahweh, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed.
So I need Israel to really soak that in. So this is another thing that I'm going to keep on hitting home. Read it again now.
Malachi chapter 3 verse 6.
Yeah.
For I am Yahweh, I change.
Yahweh, the power, the all-seeing, all-knowing, all-everything does not change, God.
I change not.
It doesn't change.
Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed.
So that means that you could rely and believe and trust on the words, the covenant, the promises, the covenants, everything, every word that proceeded out of the mouth of the prophet, because they were in the spirit, the Most High was using them to speak His word. You can trust in it because He don't change. So if He said it, it's already happened. You can put it like that. If He said it, it's happened.
That consumed is quite loaded because
That's just what was into my mind.
yeah,
So,
because when you think about it,
Yeah.
Christianity tried to consume us. You know, is like all these Esau and these wicked wiles that
Right.
craft the council. That's how they're trying to consume us. But
Right.
it says in the scriptures that they'll fall even the elect if it were possible.
Right. So was that in the end of the precept?
Yeah, that was
No, the consume bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the key isn't the consume bit. The key is He doesn't change. That's what I'm hammering in. He don't change. So if He said, "You're my chosen people," you're His chosen people. If He said, "Keep my commandments and live," keep His commandments and live. He could rely on it.
But that consume is grace.
It is grace as well.
that's
Yeah,
grace.
exactly.
It's grace why we're not consumed.
Exactly.
Numbers 23.
Yeah, because I'm just straight to the point. Go ahead.
yeah, on that consume point as well,
Yeah.
because if he did change, would have been consumed by the other nations, and the other nations would try to take the elect's spot. So this is why he's making sure. This is why he's stressing he does not change. So that grace he had with us from the beginning still stands today.
That's the
That's
point.
basically where
That's the point I'm trying to emphatically prove by bringing 4 different precepts to prove it. So could you bring
It's the book of Numbers, chapter 23, verse 19.
Right. So this is witness number 2. God,
The Most High is not a man that he should lie,
meaning He doesn't say things deceptively, and He doesn't say things He doesn't mean. God.
neither the
That's what I
Son
like.
of Man that he should repent.
So repent means change. So He don't change. So that's 2 witnesses. Did you bring it all?
This is Hebrews chapter 7 and 21.
3 witnesses.
It says, for those priests were made without an oath, but this with an oath by him that said unto him, the Lord swear and will not repent.
So the Lord swear, meaning He said it, or He made an oath, or He said it, and He wouldn't change. So that's 4 witnesses. And then there's the last one.
This is Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8. And it reads, Yahushai, the same yesterday and today and forevermore.
So his son and all doesn't change either. So even if you want to try and wiggle it out and say, oh yeah, Jesus nailed it on the cross. No, he don't change you.
Verse 9. Be not carried about with divers and strange doctrine.
So that's the point. So that's a diverse doctrine. That's a strange doctrine. Because you're straying from what the word is saying.
No, it's not. Yeah. For it is a good thing that the heart be established with grace, not with meats, which have not profited them that have been occupied therein.
Right. Yeah, that's
James 1:17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning.
What's our favorite?
So it don't change, man.
Even when you talk, even when you even go to 1 Peter 2:21, there was no guile in Yahushua's mouth. There again, so that he meant what he said and he said what he meant. He never lied.
So the reason why I'm reiterating certain core principles, right, is because this question that I'm posing here is really not posed to people that are so much in the truth, because people in the truth will kind of understand most of the concepts. But people that are listening, or people that are trying to find out the truth, trying to navigate the truth, there's certain fundamental principles they need to know. One is Yahweh don't change. One is you can rely on everything he said. One is his son don't change either. One is the grace is the Most High's grace that allows you. In other words, we just throw the seeds of the word, but he creates it. Right? It's his will.
Faith come by hearing and hearing the word of God.
That's right.
Exodus chapter 14, verse 13. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the The book of Exodus chapter 14, verse 13. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord Yahweh power, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall see them again no more forever.
That's right. Now that's great. That's what I call grace. I could do some of that grace right now. It's coming. It's coming.
These Edomites that you see
It's
today,
coming.
thou shalt see them no more forever.
Verse 14. Verse 14 of Exodus 14. The Lord Yahweh power shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace.
So when we're right with Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and when we're following the good doctrine, the sound doctrine, what will happen is we actually wouldn't even have to do anything, because there's a scripture that states, I'm sure some of you will bring it out, that Yahushai is going to trod the wine press on his ones. He ain't want no help. He do it on his ones. Huh? Yeah. Could somebody bring that out? I guess. Because that will get your blood flowing, man.
Get their blood flowing.
Yeah, it gets theirs. You know, you'll get their blood flowing too. Who's that with the dyed garment? He just come from Basra.
Grim Reaper, man.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Actually, I was reading this the other day as well.
Isaiah chapter 63 and verse 1. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments? Now, I just have to stop there for a minute. It does say Edom here with dyed garments. Now, the thing that makes me laugh is when you go into those Christian establishments who's run by Edom, they say, oh, they want to be saved and all that.
They'll even tell you when you get into the biblical scholars that Edom is no longer there. David Guzik, he made a statement that Edom's no longer here.
I know. But you know what gets me is, what do they need to be saved from? What does a ruling nation that has military might, economic might, and all the teachings in the schools and the churches, what do they need to be saved from? That's what puzzles me.
In this case, they're self.
You know? Oh, all right, yeah, no, bring 30, man, bring 30. I'll tell you where you are.
Exodus chapter 14, verse 30. God saved the Lord God Yahweh power, saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore.
That's right.
Bodies upon bodies.
That's right. That's right.
And that's salvation. Seeing your enemies perish. Not holding hands in hand with them and listening to their doctrine.
Right.
I'm allowed. Didn't you bring it out?
No, because maybe he's got...
Oh, yeah, bring it up.
No. I'm starting to. Yeah, Isaiah chapter 63 and verse 1. And it reads, Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Verse 2. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that troddeth in the wine fat.
Right.
Verse 3. Here's the point coming up now. Verse 3. I have trodden the winepress alone.
And that's the whole point. So you read all of that just to get to that point. Yahushua did it on his one. Hey.
Look. Come.
The language,
Go and tell him.
and his spirit.
Go and pray to your God.
I'll go to the good water, man.
Alright.
I think you people doing the great thing, man.
Alright,
You can spread the vibe, keep it alive, man.
Alright. I'm allowed. You better
Boss,
precept.
listen.
Bring out the Lord,
Let's go to the temple, man.
Precept will run it.
So Isaiah chapter 45 verse 17. But Israel shall be saved in Yahweh
Right.
with everlasting salvation.
That's right.
Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded.
Right.
World without end.
Right. So bring out again. Read it again.
But Israel shall be saved in Yahweh
Right,
with
so-
everlasting salvation.
So Israel, Yasha'Allah will be saved in Yahweh or through Yahweh, which is actually what Yahweh Shai means. Yahweh Shai means Yahweh saves. That's what it means. Go on.
Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded.
Right, so we're not going to have buggers coming and chatting gibberish. We're not going to have scoffers walking up and down. We are going to be saved. And the whole entire world is going to see it. They're going to witness it. Go on now.
World without end.
Right. Worlds mean an age or a group or a nation.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 68. Blessed be the Lord power of Israel,
That's right. Because he's our power.
for he hath visited and redeemed his
People. Right.
And
That's a form of grace. That's a form of our possession as well.
and hath raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David.
Right. And there's something that came to me last night actually with that word David. So when it says David, David refers to our beloved king, Malak Dawada, right? And we also think of David as Yahushai or the temple that he's building that's not made with hands. But Dawada actually means beloved. In Hebrew, Dawada means beloved. So actually, you can also insert that there. So when it says house of David, house of beloved, and who's the beloved of Yahweh, the elect?
Right.
It's a very interesting thing you said there. I didn't even know what that name means.
It's the book of
David means that.
No,
Andy
go on.
means a warrior.
Yeah.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7.
Yeah, just bring the precepts out. Man. That
It's
was
the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. It says, For thou art an holy people.
There's more than... Shall I bring the
68 to
last
69.
Can I bring the last verse?
All right. Then.
Oh, no. Okay, bring in the precept in between.
No.
Oh, when did you read to?
No, because remember, I'm dealing with grace. Yeah. There's more.
It says, verse 70, it says, as he spake by the mouth of his prophet, holy prophets, which have been since the world began.
No, read on it more.
It says, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers and to remember his holy covenant, the oath which he swore unto our father Abraham.
She's not gonna lie.
That's right.
God, that we be delivered.
That he would grant unto us that we being delivered out of the hand of our enemies might serve him without fear.
That's the grace there in grace and mercy.
And you know, that,
And it says promise to our fathers.
yeah, and that point where it said we can serve him, yeah, and that point where it said we serve him without fear, because you found that the Christians were persecuting the Israelites. That's where that comes to, we're serving him without fear.
But even today, it's like you can't say certain things. Like we're going to be able to speak everything as it is, man, without fear of any repercussions or anything.
This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 6. It says, for thou art a holy people
Set up our people.
unto Yahweh thy power. Yahweh thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Right.
So that is a grace, because remember we define grace. It's not, we weren't deserving it. But it's just that the Most High picked us.
Next verse.
Yeah, go on.
Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people.
That's right.
But because Yahweh loved you,
Right.
and because he would keep the oath which he has sworn unto your
And
fathers,
this links up with Romans 9 and 11 as well. Because that's
and Luke.
defining it as well.
hath Yahweh brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen,
That's twofold, man. But you're going to do that same thing again, man.
from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
Which is Esau today, man.
Yeah, chapter 4.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 40. It says, thou shalt be blessed above all people.
And that's future. So that was written in Deuteronomy, but it's leading up to future tense. So that's a prophecy.
Thou shalt be blessed above all people. There shall not be male or female barren among you, or among your cattle.
That's right. So even our animals are going to be blessed.
And you need to, when you look at how they used to slaughter animals back in the day for sacrifices, man.
Yeah, come.
3,000 animals and all of them things there. You need your cows to be blessed, man.
We're going to have abundance of all things.
That's right.
Second Ezra, chapter 6, 50. Second Ezra, chapter 6, verse 55.
Bring it out, huh?
All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. Verse 56. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. Verse 57. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. Verse 58. But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands.
Right. So this is showing you God's mercy, because he picked us, he chose us. He's showing you where we're positioned, when we're in our right mind, when we're serving our power, where we will be positioned. But it's also showing you that we're positioned at the bottom now because of him. Right? It's not because of Esau's power or anybody's power. It's the Most High, Yahweh Ratazah, it's the Most High's will. Right.
Shalom.
Isaiah 41 says, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and we yet choose Israel. That's the point of what really. When it comes to grace and mercy, regardless of what happened, he's still going to choose us and still show us mercy.
Yeah, this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 7 and verse 62. And it reads, I answered then and said, I know, Yahweh, that the Most High is called merciful, in that he has mercy upon them which are not yet come into the world.
Right, so there's people, right, that are walking around that are eventually going to be part of the truth, or eventually maybe be part of the elect, right? So they're not in yet, but the Most High has mercy on them. Why? Because as Abadiah rightly said, all of us here should have been put to death. So the fact that we're not, that means that the Most High had mercy and grace on us. So this is demonstrating that.
Verse 63 of 2nd Ezra 7. And upon those that and upon those also that turn to his law. Verse 64, and that he is patient and long-suffering.
So that's the point, because he's patient and long-suffering to the wicked, because he's storing, he's just letting them get on with their thing, and he's just marked, because everything's recorded, you know. But with us, he deals with us promptly. So that's a grace as well.
Verse 64 from the top. 2nd Ezra chapter 7 verse 64. And that he is patient and long-suffering those that have sinned as his creatures.
That's why we have to be patient and long-suffering with our fellow brothers and sisters in law, man. That's not this quick to flipping, cut them off, or I don't want nothing to do with you. Like in the Lord's Prayer, it says, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those. So how are you going to want the Most High to show us be patient when you are forgive the Lord, have mercy, and then when your brother hiccups against you, boy, we don't want nothing to do with him.
Right, it's the book of Sirach, chapter 5 and verse 4. It says, say not, I have sinned, and what harm have happened unto me? For Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai is long-suffering.
It's taking liberties with grace.
Yeah, that's taking the mick out of grace. Yeah.
For Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai is long-suffering, he will no wise let thee go.
That's right. Wisdom of Solomon 4 and 15. This the people saw and understood it not, neither laid they up this in their minds, that his grace and mercy is with his saints, and that he has respect unto his chosen. So grace and mercy is for the saints, man. Yeah, the grace and mercy is for the saints, and really and truly for the elect of the saints. Because the true saints are those that's, as you read in Revelation 14 and 12, here's the patience of the saints, here are they that keep the commandments, and the faith of Yahushua.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 2, verse 11. It says, for the Lord Yahweh is full of compassion and mercy, long-suffering, and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins, and saveth in a time of affliction.
Now, you know, it's funny how quite a lot of times you hear like Yahweh is long-suffering. And you know what? And that's what we need to be as brothers. Like even those out of the truth need to learn to be long-suffering. More so those in the truth.
So the peace of God always brings out, you know, in patience possesses ye your soul.
Yeah, and then
This is the book of Deuteronomy.
7 and 6. So this is just a reprise because I skipped a precept.
That's good. Keep it on all the time.
This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. It says, for thou art a holy people unto Yahweh thy power. Yahweh thy power have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. And this is the book of 1 Chronicles chapter 17 and verse 20. It says, oh Yahweh, there is none like thee.
Right, so we always have to give praise to Yahweh.
That's right.
Separate him because there are other gods. But Yahweh is our God. He's our power. So we always have to give him praise.
It says, oh Yahweh, there is none like thee.
Just add them other gods are idols.
Absolutely.
They're not real. No, just
Absolutely. No, you have to do that for edification.
Yeah, when we
Because
say
God,
there's other gods, you know, people they're gods, other men they're gods, women they're gods, they material stuff they're gods. But the Bible says there's only one Yahweh, man.
so let me make a clarifying statement now. In the Hebrew, God is Allah, and Allah
power.
just means power or judge, right? So,
But there's
Yasha
only
Allah,
one
if you
judge.
don't know that by now, that Allah just means power or judge, then what you're actually doing, if you do not know that, is that you're giving the Islamic God power, because they call him Allah, right? So you have to be able to distinguish. Allah, when it's written in English, would be God, and it just means power.
That's right.
Yeah, God.
I just want to say as well, like the brother saying they're idols. Just like in First Kings when they go to the altar, it says, let's see if your power can set fire to the
Don't go there, because I've got some of that as well.
I was mocking them, beating them. Baby's asleep. Show louder.
This is 1 Chronicles 17 and 20. It says, "O Yahweh, there is none like thee, neither is there any power beside thee."
So that would be in the Hebrew, Yahweh, Al-Hayanawa, Yahweh, Akkad, in the Hebrew.
According to all that we have heard with our ears.
Ayashala.
And what one nation in the earth is like thine people Israel,
That's right.
whom the Most High went to redeem to be his own people, to make thee a name of greatness and terribleness by driving out nations from before thy people, whom thou hast redeemed out of Egypt.
So redemption is also a grace, because to redeem somebody would be equivalent to a person in death row that's been sentenced to die, and they were guilty of it as well, and then Donald Trump went in there and said, or somebody like Donald Trump went in there and said, you know what, I'm going to give him a pardon, I'm going to give him a blind, I'm going to free him. That's what it is.
And you're free to go.
And you're free to go.
And I'm counting nothing against you.
Right. So that's like an amnesty. So I've wiped away and washed away all of your record. You don't even have a record.
And now people don't even want that.
That's what grace is all about.
Verse 22, it says, "For thy people Israel didst thou make thine own people forever,
That I will arm you.
That's right.
and thou, Lord Yahweh, becamest their power."
That's right.
See that? Israel forever.
That's right. So he's our power. He's our power forever, and he chose us forever, because why? He doesn't lie, and he doesn't change, and he doesn't repent. That was it.
Just thinking, I'm just thinking as well. If I just may say this quickly, there's two sides to everything, like you say, friend. So Esau also provides grace unto the wicked. He provides favor unto the wicked, and that's the favor that our people trust. And the scripture says that our people trust in oppression because of that grace that Esau offers.
They trust in oppression because you can see it, you can smell it, you can feel it, and it's what you know and what you're used to, rather than believing in something, because when it lists our belief and faith, it's something not seen, but it's real. So we rather believe in what we've seen, with the marks on the back, the whip on the back. Yeah, we trust that if we go off, the master going to whip us, but we don't understand if we go off, the Most High going to whip us. He's going to plead, and you don't want it. Yeah, I'm taking did you start?
Yeah, I
go ahead, start from
Yeah. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 7 and verse 62. And it reads, "I answered then and said, I know, Lord, I know, Yahweh, that the Most High is called merciful, in that he has mercy upon them which are not yet come into the world."
Right, so that's the point. He has grace, he's given grace, he's given let me define another definition for grace is when you owe a debt and you call up the company and say, look, I didn't get paid, or my mom died, or whatever happened. You give them a good excuse, and they say, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you 3 months period to sort yourself out, and then you pay. That's a grace as well. But it's not everlasting, because after the 3 months, your lights are going to get cut the hell off.
So just bear in mind, as the brother say, you still have to pay that debt. It's not wiped free just because you got grace.
I just want to say something. Remember the brother was saying that wicked, they show favor as well. This is Isaiah 26 and 10 says, let favor be shown to the wicked, Yet will ye not learn righteousness in the land of uprightness, will ye deal unjustly, and will not behold the majesty of Yahweh. So, you know, the Most High is giving them leeway to do what they're doing. You know, he's showing them, what is it, long suffering. But you mean that long suffering, they're not going to learn no righteousness. So. And that goes with 2/3 of our people as well, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, 2nd Ezra chapter 7 verse 63. And upon those all that turn to his law, verse 64, and that he is patient and long suffereth those that have sinned as his creatures, verse 65, and that he is bountiful, for he is ready to give where it's needed, verse 66. And that he is of great mercy, for he multiplies more and more mercies to them that are present.
Right, so when it says he multiplies mercy, it's also equivalent, it's like an equation, it's also equivalent to long suffering. So he's being merciful, and then he's adding mercy upon mercy upon mercy.
And that are past, and also to them which are to come. Verse 67. For if he shall not multiply his mercies, the world would not continue with them that inherit therein.
And that world is Yahshua is talking about. So basically what he's saying is that it's as a result of Yahweh's mercy and grace that there's even a remnant, because even the remnant is elected. That's a form of mercy, right? I don't want to give away, so what?
No, yeah, you want number 69.
Yeah.
Verse 68 of 2nd Ezra chapter 7. And he pardoned it, for if he did not, so of his goodness, that they which have committed iniquities might be eased of them. Then the 10,000th part of men should not remain living. Verse 69. And being judge, if he should not forgive them that are cured with his word.
Right, so we know that we always say repent and be converted so your sins can be blotted out. So what you should say that again?
Verse 69 of 2nd Ezra chapter 7. And being judge, if he should,
Most High is a judge,
if he should not forgive them that are cured with his word.
Right, so what he's saying is if the people that repent and are converted and are trying to keep the law with all fear and trembling, if the Most High did not wipe away the debt of what they did prior to that law
and put out the multitude of contentions.
That's it, right, yeah, so no, that was it. So basically, that's a form of grace as well. So you can see that in a court system where a young man who may have been a good lad and he made a mistake, he got caught shoplifting, or he ran away from paying something, and when the judge hears all of the variables, speaks to the teacher, speaks to his dad, speaks to people that know him, they say, you know what, I'll give you a chance. Right? He's guilty of it, we say, I'll give you a chance. Get yourself right. Right? So this is what the Most High does, and this is what the Most High has done. Right? And that is an illustration of grace. Because remember, the topic is grace. So everything we're saying, everything that we're saying from the Spirit, is alluding to grace and demonstrating grace and explaining grace. Because a lot of people, they don't fully understand what grace is. They don't get the concept. So now, we're going to get into some examples of Yahweh's grace. So one, I'm going to just speak about it, right? Although I know the precept, I'm just going to speak about it. And then we're going to get into some precepts. So one very good example of grace was when the Most High heard the pleas of the children of Israel that were in Egypt, in Matazariah, and he sent his avenging angel to go and deal with the Egyptians. And he led the people out, and he parted the Red Sea, and he brought them safely across to the other side. And they witnessed the Egyptians getting mashed up. They saw it with their own eyes. And then for 40 years, he fed the people bread, quail. He enabled Moses the power to hit rocks, for water to come out of rocks, right? Their clothes didn't drop off of them, their shoes didn't wear for 40 years. So that's grace. That's an example of grace. But now we're going to show examples of grace through the precepts. So could somebody bring out Surah 28 and 7? Could somebody bring out Acts 17 and 30? Acts 17 and 30. Daniela, could you bring out 6? Daniel 6, 15 to 23. You got that? 15 to 23. Well on the dragon, that's it. Well on the dragon,
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 28 and verse 7. Ecclesiasticus chapter 28 and verse 7, and it reads, "Remember the commandments and bear no malice to thy neighbor."
So malice is another word, another way to say hatred or bad man. Because mal in the Latin means bad. Yeah.
Remember the covenant of the highest and wink at ignorance.
Right, so the point of that is, which is what the scripture said prior to, the precept I brought prior to, is that the Most High, oftentimes, he winks at your ignorance, meaning, he know you don't know you're breaking the law, so he just kind of, what they say, turn a blind eye. He winks